Padre Pio warns, 7 common objects that attract negative energies. Remove them immediately. Have you ever felt suffocated inside your own home, as if something invisible was draining your peace, disturbing your spirit for no apparent reason? I know it's not easy to admit, but many of us live with these influences, without realizing that simple, almost banal objects may be opening the doors to forces that we do not fully understand. And what is worse, we are allowing these objects to remain. Weight you carry inside your house without even realizing it. Think with me, when was the last time you looked around and wondered, am I surrounded for things that, without me knowing, attract evil? We are not talking about something supernatural in a mystical sense, but about spiritual realities. They are energies, forces that disturb the balance. Padre Pio always warned us about how much the invisible impacts our daily lives. How many nights did you wake up in the middle of the night, willing to remove them? Leave me in the comments. I need to protect my home. The first object, it may seem innocent, a souvenir from a trip, a gift from a loved one. But what happens when that object carries with it energies that neither you nor the person who gave it to you were aware of? The intention behind the object matters, but the influences, what it brings, can be much greater than any goodwill. Have you ever thought about this? How many things come into our home with a story that we are? And to you, and what can we say about certain types of art? There are paintings, sculptures, and even photographs that, depending on who made them or what they represent, carry a shadow with them. Padre Pio told us that art can be a window to the divine, but it can also be a channel for dark influences. Think about that piece you have at home and always thought was strange, but never had the courage to get rid of. It could be that it is affecting more than just your decoration. Certain books can also be sources of spiritual disturbance. Have you ever, if you found yourself rereading an excerpt from a book and feeling a discomfort that you don't know where it comes from? It's not the words themselves, but the content, the energy that was put there at the time of writing. There are works that carry a weight that few can perceive, but that is, I wonder if something on your bookshelf is contaminating the... You've already had an experience like this. Leave your comment and share your story. There are also inherited objects. It could be an antique piece of furniture, a family ring, something you keep out of affection or tradition. But do you know what this object has experienced? From emotions to events, and even tragedies it can carry. Remember, things also have history, and this history sometimes infiltrates our daily lives, even if imperceptibly. Have you ever felt a heavy energy when approaching? Padre Pio always said that the real battle is fought in the invisible. Are you ready to face this battle? Are you willing to transform your home into a protected sanctuary, free from negative influences? I want you to reflect on this, and more than that, I want you to act, because the time to be spiritually is now that we have already begun to seeing beyond appearances is the time to reveal what often goes unnoticed. Padre Pio, in his wisdom, taught us that spiritual protection begins with discernment, and discernment is recognizing what can no longer remain around us for the good of our soul and the good environment where we live. With each revelation, you will realize that something so simple and commonplace could be undermining your peace and opening doors to energies that you never wanted in your life. The first object is one that many possess, but few understand its impact: ancient mirrors. Have you heard to say that mirrors can be windows to other realities? Well, this belief has a spiritual background. Many ancients were witnesses to moments of pain, anger, despair. They are objects that harmless. But think for a moment, time is a spiritual force. It sets the rhythm of life, and when a clock for it creates a break in the natural flow of things. Padre Pio warned about the presence of stopped clocks at home as something that can symbolize spiritual stagnation. Is not just a broken object, it is a sign that something has stopped. Have you noticed how alongside that clock, other areas of your life also seem stagnant? Maybe it's time to remove it and release the flow of time in your home again. Already been discarded. The fourth object that attracts negative energies are sharp objects, left exposed, knives, scissors, even certain types of decoration. In many cultures, it is believed that sharp objects attract conflicts and disagreements. Padre Pio warned us about the cutting energy that these objects carry. They symbolize separation, division, and by leaving them exposed, we allow these energies of rupture to permeate our environment. Do you usually leave knives or scissors in plain view, have you? Peace, have you ever felt an inexplicable weight when touching or using something that belonged to someone who is no longer with us? Sometimes keeping these objects can bring. I get a constant sadness, a melancholy that we don't know where it comes from. You keep many things from people who have already left, how these things make you feel. The sixth object is something apparently harmless, but carries an important spiritual charge. Candles that have never been lit. Candles represent light prayer. Object pictures or images that portray sadness, pain, or despair. Art has an immense power to touch our souls, but also to influence the spiritual environment around us. Paintings that portray moments of suffering, pain, or despair can keep these energies alive within our home. Padre Pio spoke about the importance of surrounding yourself with images that elevate the spirit, that connects us with the beautiful, with the divine. Look at the walls of your home. The images you see bring peace or restlessness. You are ready to cleanse your spiritual space and bring peace for your home. Leave in the comments which of these objects you have already identified and how you feel about them. Let's walk together in this process of purification. Padre Pio always said that faith and prayer are our greatest weapons, but we also need to take care of the environment around us. Remember, this is just the first step. We are getting closer and closer to a deep understanding of what is happening in our homes. The revelation, and may seem like just an exotic decorative piece, but the spiritual truth is different. Padre Pio taught us to avoid objects that represent gods or entities from ancient cults, no matter how innocent they may be. Symbolisms that beyond Dacia there are dientat a when things at home can be sources of disturbing spiritual influences. Have you ever noticed something different around these objects? Maybe a restlessness, a change in the atmosphere of the room. It's time to rethink whether these items really deserve to be in your home. The ninth object can surprise many: jewelry or accessories with unknown or occult symbols. Necklaces, rings, bracelets. Sometimes we receive or buy pieces of beauty, but with the origin of some of your accessories. The 10th object you need to observe is something common, but loaded with spiritual meanings. Statues of fallen angels or distorted figures of saints that seem filled with the sadness of darkness, sometimes without realizing it. We bring into our homes distorted representations of what should be sacred. A statue of an angel that, instead of inspiring peace, seems immersed in pain. Padre Pio told us that we must be careful about what we allow it into our environment, especially when it comes to spiritual representations. Is there an image in your home that should convey light, but instead it seems to carry shadows? Maybe it's time to remove it and connecting with that pain that should have already been left behind. You keep something that takes you back to a time of suffering. Maybe it's time to free yourself from this past and allow spiritual healing to fully manifest in your life. We come to the 12th object, and this is particularly delicate: toys or dolls with disturbing features. It may seem harmless. After all, they are just toys. But Padre Pio always reminded us that evil can hide in the most unexpected things. Dolls in. Have you ever found yourself uncomfortable with presence of an old toy or a doll that seems to look at you? Maybe it's time to reconsider keeping these objects around. Now I could go on revealing each of these hidden objects that carry with them such a heavy spiritual burden, but there is one last one, an object that it is often in the place where we should most feel peace and refuge, an object that many keep close to them thinking they are protected, but in fact it may be doing the opposite. As gifts are used with the intention of warding off evil or bringing luck. However, Padre Pio always warned us that putting our trust in objects that do not have their roots in the Christian faith is a serious error. True protection comes from God through the prayer of the sacraments and consecrated symbols, such as the crucifix and the medal of Saint Benedict. When we resort to amulets even without evil, we are actually opening a door to evil amulets of esoteric origin, talismans, or even items that are present in your home. Perhaps you received it as a gift without knowing what it really represents. It could be something you've carried for years without questioning. But does this amulet really protect you, or is it being an opening for disturbing spiritual energies to enter your life? This is the last object, the most dangerous, because we often think we are being protected, but in reality, we are being exposed. But now you are aware now that I have revealed all 13 objects. I want you to look in our homes for the little details we often ignore, and to act. And you are ready to act if you feel that these objects are present in your home and realize that it is time to act. Now is the time to take that step and purify your home. Do not ignore the signs. Do not postpone the change. Watch the next video that is appearing here on the screen and discover how to protect yourself yet more, your family, spiritually. Padre Pio calls us to be attentive and vigilant, and I know you are ready for they're as if they were harmless. But they are. Padre Pio, in his deep spirituality, warned us about how certain items can bring with them a powerful negative charge. Sometimes all you need to do to change the atmosphere in your home is eliminate these objects. Believe me, small things carry big energies. Have you ever noticed that feeling of restlessness that comes out of nowhere? And if it's not just a phase, and if it is a sign, something that is escaping us, that is beyond what our eyes can see, feeling an inexplicable discomfort. How many times have you entered the house and for no apparent reason been overcome by profound tiredness? There is a solution, and it starts with recognition. I'm going to share with you 7 common objects that without you even imagining could be gateways to these negative energies. And what is scarier, they are everywhere, hidden in plain sight, disguised as normality. But that is what evil does. It is not, it hides, it infiltrates, it disguises itself. But are you completely unaware of another example that many people ignore? Certain symbols. Maybe it is a piece of decoration, something that you find beautiful, stylish. But have you already reflected about what that symbol means spiritually? We are not talking about cheap superstition. We are talking about spiritual realities that affect our lives in subtle and persistent ways. Have you ever had that feeling that something is not right, but you can't identify what it is? Say in the comments if that has happened. Atmosphere of your home. Tell me, what is the book you keep but have always avoided reading? Leave it in the comments. And as for gifts that even given with the best of intentions carry an invisible charge. Did you know that certain objects can carry energy from the people who owned them before you? Imagine a gift that came from someone who was going through a difficult phase, full of anguish. The energy that was with that person can come along with the object. Do you think it's possible? Something old that belonged to someone else. Maybe it's time to look at these items more carefully, but don't think that the solution is to simply get rid of everything. It's not about living in fear, but about awakening to the spiritual reality that surrounds us. The years have absorbed not only the images of those who looked at them, but also the emotions. Imagine looking for the reflection of something that is no longer physically present, but that spiritually remains trapped in that glass mirrors have the ability to reflect not only what is in front of them, but also what has already passed. Do you have old mirrors in your home? Have you ever felt some discomfort passing through them? Now let's move on to the second object, stopped clocks. This may seem. The third object you must remove are dry or dead plants. Plants bring life, beauty, renewal. But what happens when a plant dies and remains there, dry, lifeless, just taking up space? It turns into a symbol of decay. Padre Pio spoke about the importance of renewing what is around us, not letting what has already died continue to inhabit our spaces. A dead plant carries the weight of what should be renewed but has been neglected. Look around. There are dead plants in your home. Is keeping what should have. Noticed around these objects, more arguments or misunderstandings arise. Maybe it's time to save what you cut. We come to the fifth object, clothes or objects from deceased people. Keeping memories of loved ones who have passed away is something common, an act of affection and longing. However, it is necessary to have discernment. Padre Pio told us that although the intention is noble, these things can carry the energies of the person who owned them, and in some cases, these energies are not at purification. They are a channel of communication with the divine. However, a candle that was never lit carries a symbolism of an unfulfilled prayer of unmanifested intention. It is like a request that was never made. Padre Pio always lit candles as a sign that a prayer is alive that rises to the heavens. Unlit candles, on the other hand, are a reminder that something is missing spiritually. How many candles you have stored waiting to be lit, how many prayers you haven't said yet. And finally, the seventh. It's time to replace what drains your energy with something that renews your faith. Now reflect deeply on these 7 objects that often go unnoticed in our daily lives. Each of them may be contributing to the environment of your home in ways you never imagined. But the good news is that you have the power to change that. Of these objects is an invitation to action towards transformation. Padre Pio knew that often the small details in our home hold great spiritual mysteries. And with each object we remove, we give more space for divine grace, to act for the light of Christ, to illuminate the darkest corners. Now let's delve even deeper into the 8th object, one that few realize but which brings heavy energy to the environment. Sculptures of mythological or pagan figures are common, often bought on trips or inherited. Engraved symbols that we do not fully understand. Padre Pio warned of the presence of occult symbols, or those linked to beliefs and practices contrary to the Christian faith. These symbols, even when used only as decorations, can carry with them a spiritual force contrary to good. The enemy hides in the details, in the little things that we ignore. A simple accessory can turn into a channel of negative energies. Do you know what the symbols are? In your jewelry have you ever wondered about? Make room for a true representation of the sacred. Now the 11th object, old calendars or photographs of difficult times, seem trivial. But did you stop to think that keeping calendars from past years, especially those that marked periods of pain, could be anchoring you spiritually in suffering? Father Pio said that time is sacred, that each day is a new opportunity for free. When we keep physical reminders of difficult years, like old calendars or photographs of painful moments, we are unknowingly carry a very specific energy. Some, due to their features, can cause discomfort, appearing almost alive in a disturbing way. This happens because certain objects, especially those that imitate human forms, can serve as receptacles for disturbing energies. Ask you, do you feel that something is wrong in your home, but you still haven't managed it? Identify what it is. You feel like you have tried everything, but the feeling of spiritual weight persists. Perhaps this last object is what is missing to be revealed. You are ready to discover, finally, we have arrived at the last object, and this for many may be the most surprising and disturbing of all amulets or protective objects that do not see from God. These amulets, often acquired in moments of despair or you don't know their spiritual origin, can attract negative energies. Instead of driving them away, they carry within themselves not divine protection, but spiritual influences that can come from dangerous sources. Padre Pio said that only faith and prayer they can truly protect us, and when we trust in objects without discerning their origin, we are abandoning the shield of faith to put ourselves in the hands of something we do not understand. Have you ever wondered if any of these protective objects, to stop and reflect how many of these objects are present in your home, How many of them you have kept for years without realize the spiritual weight they carried? Are you willing to remove them once and for all, to make space for the peace of Christ to reign in your life? Remember, it is not just about cleaning physically, it is about purifying spiritually. Padre Pio left us a legacy of protection, alert faith. His mission was to awaken us to the invisible battles we face every day, and today he calls us. This journey of faith and protection, click on the video below and continue to grow stronger.